Good morning, everybody, or good time zone for wherever you happen to be. Thank you for joining me yet again. I'm streaming from the office, so I have the terrible video version. The video, what's the word I'm looking for? Perspective of what I'm going on today. I'm going to switch that to screencast because then you don't have to stare quite badly at that really awful angle up my nose. Hi, everyone. In case you haven't met me before, my name is Mark Mandel. I am a developer advocate for Google Cloud Platform. I work on an open source project called Agones, which is an open source project for hosting and scaling dedicated game servers for real-time multiplayer games. And we run that on top of another open source project called Kubernetes, which is an open source project for running large-scale, basically software over potentially tens, thousands of machines. We'll be looking a bit at that today. So what are we playing with today? What are we doing in this good morning while I have my cup of tea, which is very important. So last time we hung out last week, I had a request from a community member who was saying, hey, listen, all this stuff around Docker and Kubernetes sounds really cool, but I actually have no idea how any of this works. So while you're often doing streams on like how you actually develop Agones and like doing that kind of behind the scenes stuff, I'd love to see a stream on like how do I actually build a thing. So what we did last week was basically we took the example stuff that we have inside Agones. So if we have a look actually inside Agones itself, we have an example in here. Here we go, examples, a thing called Synotic. Synotic's an FPS type shooter. And what we did was we wanted to take this and bring it all the way through to hosting it and running it on site Kubernetes. So what we did last time is actually we Dockerized it. So we took it and we put it inside a Docker container. Actually, you know what I will do, since I'm here. Not web preview. All right, so I'm running inside Google Cloud Platform right now. We have a Kubernetes instance in there that we can get up and running, and we're going to use some of the integrated editor tools because it's easy, basically, for lack of a better term. And there we go. So, excuse me. If I have a look, where are we? I have this locally, blah, 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 example. So we deleted all the stuff from Synotic, and we basically started from scratch. So just for a quick recap, we wrote this Docker file, we created a Docker image from it, and we pushed it up into container registry, which is up here. So we'll see there's a Synotic and a Synotic 0.1. So that's all there. Spiffy Buns, good morning to you too. Thank you for joining me this morning. I appreciate it. I'm a little sleepy today, but it's good. It's going to be good fun. So we did that last week. We Dockerized it. If you want to go back and see that, the videos are on. I think the video is still live from last week because they still last for 14 days. But you can also go to YouTube, check my bio, check the links from within this video or any other video that's on Twitch as well. All right, so we have that. That's cool. So what do we want to do next? So I think actually the thing that we want to do next is install Agones on Kubernetes. This should, in theory, be pretty straightforward. I'll show you a neat trick that I really like inside Google Cloud. You notice there's a search box up here. If I click it, or actually if I write / it'll take me up there, and I can write things like Kubernetes. And so I can actually go hunting for stuff rather than going through this left-hand side nav here, which can be a little bit tricky. So not yesterday, I think it was last week actually, I created this cluster of 3 nodes. So this is basically, it's a Kubernetes cluster. It has 3 nodes in it. I used, if we have a look in, here we go, setting up, where are we? We chose a show, we did all this stuff. And we ran this script here. Actually, let's make that a little bigger. That's kind of small. And we ran this script here. We created this container set here. And if we have a look, we actually wrote a little install. Where are we? Here we go, down here. We just wrote like a little install sh to do that work. All right, nothing too fancy. It's literally just saying I want 3 node Kubernetes cluster running like the standard one with a bunch of auth stuff on it. Now, one thing that's worth noting, I just want to make this absolutely clear. Yeah, that camera angle. Yeah, let's not notice the camera angle. I just saw it in chat. Normally when I stream from home, I use a better camera. This is the one on my laptop, and it is genuinely appalling. But we'll try and ignore it. Okay, so we need to install this. We're going to install Agones on Kubernetes. Now I created a cluster that takes a few minutes, and so I kind of did that before. It's kind of like, yeah, here's one we prepared earlier. It's just a standard Kubernetes cluster. There's nothing really special about it. There is one thing we will need to do, and that is set up firewall rules that enable us to be able to basically do UDP traffic into this server. So actually, just so you're aware of that here, you see we added this thing called tags. I'll show you where that actually shows up. So basically, tags are just a nice way of saying, here we go. Tags are a nice way of basically giving like key value pairs to stuff that we can use for things. They don't show up when you look inside Kubernetes clusters, which is kind of annoying. But if I go into, say, Compute Engine, here we go. Which Kubernetes is just VMs behind the scenes, like there's nothing that special about it. And we actually dig into one of these, we will see, where are we? Here we go, network tags. And we'll see it says game server, which is sweet. That's what we want. And then we can use these network tags to basically apply network traffic rules, is really what it basically boils down to. So I'm just going to actually use my own instructions, and hopefully they work. Because hopefully everything goes according to plan. So here we go. G-Cloud compute firewalls. We create a firewall set. We're going to allow everything from 7,000 to 8,000. Just leave it, and then target tags is game server, which is what we had before. So let's just run that, and hopefully everything goes according to plan. So this is really like the only special kind of thing that gets needed to be done for Agones, and it's really just to allow the traffic to go through. That's really it. There's nothing more fancy than that. Now, the interesting question is, there we go. How are we actually going to test this so that we show it that it works? But that's a whole other thing. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, so that should be a firewall rule. So if we come back over here and we go to firewall, let's see what shows up. Fine, give me VPC. Sometimes this is great, sometimes this is annoying. Okay, here we go. And what we want is firewall rules. There we go, perfect. Yes, now go away. Thank you. Okay, where's that firewall rule? Refresh. There it goes. Perfect. So now we have this game server firewall rule that targets that game server. So that's basically all the GCE instances that have that target, have that tag game server. Means that now if we want UDP traffic to go from 7,000 to 8,000, that port range, then that's what it is before. What is this camera angle? I know. I'm so sorry. I'll bring in an external mic, camera next time and set that up properly. It's just that I'm streaming from the office, so I have a bit of a hinky setup, and that's why the camera angle is bizarre. Cool. All right, so I have the firewall rule. That's good. One other thing I will need to do, so let's just knock down here, is just RBAC rule stuff. I probably won't go too deeply into this. Basically, RBAC is role-based access control. It enables, it means that when you set things up, you can say, hey, you have access to these things and not these things. It's just good security. For right now, I'm just going to copy-paste the command, which should be fine. And it'll create, it's basically just creating, whoop. Oh. Why is it using my Gmail account? Oh, that's right. Oh, that's fun. Why won't it let me do that? Error from server forbidden, cluster role bindings, RBAC. RBAC is forbidden. User markman.gmail cannot create. Oh, this might be fun. I might have to go do secret stuff with my actual corp account. Let's see. That's really interesting. At the cluster scope. But I created it. It's mine. I should be able to do it. If I look at my IAM. Let's see if we can fix this real quick. This should be fun. I'm an editor. But that's really interesting. I can't... What? Ah, that's ridiculous. All right, I might need to do some secret stuff. So let's do some secret stuff. Yeah, I have a Dell, and that's exactly what it is. Can I create crossroad? Okay, so I need to do this. I need to do secret stuff. All right, so hold on. I'm going to go to my secret stuff, and Bear with me 1 second. Actually, I can do it from here. Excellent. Hold on. I will do secret stuff. So I'm basically gonna set up a kubectl role binding from a different account. That works. Actually, you can see this. This is not too bad. There's no reason I actually need to hide this. Let's go back to screencast. So actually, why don't I show you what I'm doing? So basically what I've got happening here is that I've got, this is actually interesting now I look at it. What's the word I'm looking for? So I'm using my personal account right now just to, oh, that's not gonna work. Bear with me 1 sec. Okay, cool, this is fine. Yeah, let me secret stuff again. So basically what's happening, and just so I can, basically what's happening is I've got IAM policy. So there's an IAM policy which basically says, basically that gives people access to what they can do inside the project that I've set up. And what's the word I'm looking for? And what I've got set up is I'm using my personal account rather than my corporate account. And my corporate account has access to everything. My personal account only has access to some things. And what I need to do is actually use my corporate account to, there we go, gcloud, sorry, configurations. And so what I need to do is set things up. Okay, there we go. So that I have, here we go, now we can go back. Let's go back to screencast. I need to set things up so that my personal account has the right IAM, actually I don't need to do the IAM policy, I just need to make sure that I can create this cluster role binding so I can do RBAC type stuff. So what I actually need to do is just, what's the words I'm looking for? I am looking for, not cluster info, config, current context. All right. I need to get gcloud. I need to configure my Kubernetes instance. So this is something like that your admin would end up doing. Container, thank you. What I need to do is gcloud container clusters. Oh, no, get server config. And where are we? What's the name of the server? I think it's streaming off the top of my head. It's always the fun stuff that gets you in the end. So look, so Kubernetes engine. Do I want get server config? Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling down the configuration for the Kubernetes authentication to my local machine. Nope, I did something wrong. What did I do? Container clusters. It's probably the wrong command. I hadn't done this in a while. Get credentials. There we go. Streaming. Because it's in US zone, US West 1A. Awesome. All right, so now if I say like kubectl get pods, there should be nothing in there. Good. Okay, now I can create the RBAC rule. Where are we? kubectl. All right, cool. So we don't want that. What we want is mark.mandel@gmail.com. So this is actually something that maybe, there we go, perfect. This is something that your administrator might end up doing rather than necessarily being able to do it yourself. So I'm using my corporate account, which is essentially administrator for the whole project. It can't do anything inside the project. My personal account can do apparently most things, but not everything. So that should solve that problem. Okay, so now I have cluster admin binding. That basically means, so when, just so you're aware, when we install Agones, it has a whole bunch of RBAC rules inside it, which tells it like what the system Agones can do inside it. And so I need to be able to set up RBAC rules inside it to be able to do like basically it's kind of the turtles all the way down, right? I need to have the permission to set up. I personally need to have the permission to do the things that Agones needs to be able to do. So I need to be able to give that thing permission to do that. So in theory, that should be better. Okay. All right. So that's done. All right. So installation. I'm going to install it with Helm because I really like Helm. I don't think we have Helm installed on here though. No, we don't. Okay. So let's install Helm. And we'll actually follow the instructions. So here we go. No, that's fine. I need to actually install it. This is how to use it, which does not help me. What I need is to install. Quick start guide is good. I've forgotten how to install Helm. I've done this like a million times, but I've got this all scripted now, so I have to remember how to do it. Install Helm. Go to the official releases page. Okay, I can do that. Installation, Linux. Here we go. Oh, that's easy. Let's grab it. Copy link address. wget splat. Whoop, splat. Cool. All right. tar -xf. Here's hoping nothing breaks. Where did that go? Linux AMD 64? Yes. I'm assuming that just works. It does. Okay, let's take this. Ooh, can I put this on my path? We ask interesting questions. Sudo copy. I assume everything in here is owned by. Interesting. There's Minikube in here. The things you learn. All right, cool. Brew install Helm? No, I'm running a Linux system. Sudo copy squiggly brackets. Linux 64 Helm dot. Beautiful. All right, so now Helm. Lovely. Okay, and all right, so now we need to install Helm. All right, so then we just Helm init, which should work, right? All right, so let's see. This should work. All right, so basically we just need to put the Helm pieces inside. Inside Kubernetes. I like using Helm. We can actually use, there's a simple way of doing it. You can actually just push the install YAML in, but I really like Helm. So that's basically it. That was me installing Helm. So Helm's actually pretty straightforward in setup. The lovely thing about Helm is that you can do these like package installs, and then once you're done, you could always delete them or you can upgrade them. It actually works really, really nicely. So we have a look here. Let's just have a look. All namespaces. Wow, I really need to get code completion in here. Is it all namespace? No, what is it? It is all namespaces. Tell you what, let's actually do this. Here's another fun thing if you've never done it before. kubectl completion bash, I think it is. No, that did not work. All right, well, that was fun. That's weird, actually. It should complete. Where are we? kubectl get pods all namespace. What am I doing wrong? Unknown flag. Options, all namespaces. Yeah, I'm not crazy. Thank you. Was that so hard? Okay, cool. So we can see Tiller. Tiller is the thing that Helm installs. So there we go. Let's bring that up and we'll make that a little bigger too. Okay. So to install Agones, install using Helm. If we look at our own things, we have a bunch of things. That's fine. What I want to do is pull down the release. 0.2.0. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to follow my own instructions, even though I actually have the code locally, but that's fine. wget. I'm going to pull that down. And we'll unzip Agones install. Beautiful. cd install. cd helm. All right. So if I double check my instructions, which I'm pretty sure I know exactly how to do, which is here. So we grabbed it, we unzipped it, we go in there, and then we give it a name. So the actually cool thing is you can do helm install and you just point it at a directory, and it'll give it a What's the word I'm looking for? It'll create a name for it, but we'll give it a name. I like to actually call it Agones. That makes me happy. So Helm install. This is my name. I'm going to call it Agones, and we'll tell it to install Agones. And I think that's it. I think that's all we need. Needs one argument. Chart name. What have I done? No, I've done something stupid. Nope, wrong one. Oh, it's dash name. Ah, my bad. There we go. Okay. Ooh, this is not working for me. This is interesting. Release Agones fails. Namespace default is forbidden. Blah, 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 blah. You know what? I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use my account, because I feel like Agones failed. Namespace default is forbidden. User system service account default cannot get namespace. What have I done wrong? I'll tell you what. Let's do it from here instead. This is weird. Okay, error, release Agones failed, namespace default. All right, so we might want to delete that. Oh, I can't. Oh. I know what this is. I know what this is. I've done this before. Helm needs a thing. I feel like I probably haven't followed my own instructions. Default is no. I've done this before. I've seen this before. I know I've seen this before. Bear with me one sec. I know I've seen this before. Yeah, Helm needs a Helm RBAC. There's a thing. I've done this before. All right, so you know what? I'm actually going to cheat a little, because I know I have this scripted. So much of this I have scripted now that I've forgotten a bunch of it. So actually, in fact, let's have a look in here. Let's see if there's anything in here about RBAC. Configure a service account and rules before proceeding. Thank you. Yes, I've done this before. Yeah. I've done this before. There's something I had to do last time. All right, so let me... Bear with me. I'm going to have a look in my builds. I'll look at my makefile. This is our development system, and what do we do? Let's actually just search for Helm. So we do all this weird stuff. Oh man, this is really interesting. So I didn't think this was this complicated, but apparently it is. I've been hiding this from myself. But so we have this. Oh, I create a service account. Yeah, I do. There's a whole thing that I do here. Okay, so we'll do this. Let's actually do this, because it is documented here. This is exactly what we have happening. So creating a service account with a cluster admin role. It's kind of interesting. So I do exactly that. All right, so that's interesting. All right, so what's the flow that I normally do? A lot of this RBAC stuff I didn't write. I'm going to level the community. All right, so we need to come out with cluster. And then we init it with a service account. Oh, interesting. Right. Okay, so this is cool. So this sets up... Okay, so we were talking about RBAC before. Whee, this is fun. So actually, why don't we follow the Helm instructions? We'll do it this way. We'll do it the way they say that we should do it. I think we have this all scripted as well. So let's just do that. Let's create touch helm.yaml. No, just refresh. It doesn't work very well. Where are we? Where did I put it? Oh, that's fine. I'll put it in there. Install helm.yaml. I'm just going to copy paste in the thing from in here. So then we kubectl apply it. So this just sets up the service count for it. So this is just RBAC stuff. Error validation. Error validating data, API version not set. Yes, it is. It's right there. Oh, they have a bug in their they have a bug in their thing. That's not good. Yeah, that's invalid YAML. Why do they have that? Let's have a look. If you want API version, yeah. Let's use mine then. Yeah, what's this hash thing? Yeah, that seems weird. I'm not sure what that refers to. All right, so I'm going to grab my example. Use that instead. Let's go in here. I know I've got it in here. Go path source. Let's grab build. I've got this exactly. Like, I've got this already. Yeah, why is that hash? RBAC. Yeah, there we go. V1 beta 1. That's exactly what. Very strange. I'm going to use mine. I'm just going to use mine. It's just going to be easier. Because I know it works. What's the difference, I wonder? Oh, they use Tiller, I use Helm. Essentially, it looks like it's pretty much the same. Oh, and mine has a gap at the top. There we go. All right. Hopefully I haven't messed up my cluster at this point. All right. Let's try this again. We will try this again. And of course, I can't type on anything. Why can't I type on anything? That I can type on. Good. Oh, here we go. Okay. Fun. Okay, actually, we'll follow their rules. We'll call it Tiller. Actually, we've got it set up as Helm. I'm going to use Helm. F Helm.yaml. Let's try that again. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Now we want Helm, init, and not namespace, -- service account. And if I just want to double check to make sure that's exactly what I was doing in my make file, just so I want to have a look. It's funny going back and looking at previous things. Okay, service count. Yeah, sweet. I'm just going to steal that. So what we've done here, just so you're 100% aware, so this is all just RBAC stuff. You don't have to use I think that should work. Let's have a look. All right, so let's try Helm install again. So what I've done is actually Helm ls. Let's actually see if there's anything. Nope. Ah, man, what have I done? Is there a Helm remove, like a? How do I uninstall it? Yeah, Helm reset. Let's try that again. I can't unreset it. Okay, so we're gonna we're having fun. I'm just gonna delete this cluster. And we'll come back again. We'll do this properly. Okay, so and we'll create a second cluster while that's happening in the background. Whee! And then I think everything, and then if we do this properly, things should be better. Where's my install.sh? Here we go. Create streaming. Is that doing that? Still spinning. All right, we'll call it streaming 2. Do that. All right, let's create a whole new cluster. What? Oh, because I haven't got a zone set up. In fact, we have this in here as well. Let's set our compute zone so that we sell it where it is we want to do this. All right. How's that doing? That's just spinning. All right, so we're going to create number 2. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Blah, 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 blah. All right, that's telling me that some things are going to change in the future, but that's okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Good to know that things break. Yeah, things break all the time. This is why it's good to script this stuff. But it's also good to know that these things break. All right. So while that's happening, what can we do instead? Okay, while that's spinning up, and we'll come back to this, what we'll do is we'll create the configuration for Agones. Let's get that done while that's happening in the background, so we can kind of we'll just drop that down there. So just talking specifically about, where are we? Here we go. Talking about, so here, Agones examples, here we go, Synodic, beautiful. So what I'll do then while that's coming back up, and we'll come back to this, because fun, is how do we configure Synodic to run on top of Agones? Now, we've already done the work for putting it inside a container, integrating the SDK, right? We've already got it up on the container registry, so it's ready to share and ready to go. But what we need is a fleet or something. We need something to basically have this up and running. And so let's actually look here. So let's go into agones.dev. And so if you've looked at Agones before, one of the things it does is it does this thing called a custom resource definition. But if you are, what's the words I'm looking for? If you're familiar with Kubernetes, you may have seen things like services and deployments and all that kind of stuff. One of the lovely things about Kubernetes is it lets you extend it. It lets you basically say, hey, this particular, I want to create a whole new noun. I want to create like a whole new thing, configuration option inside Kubernetes, and then I want you to be able to install some stuff to be able to look for those changes and those things and do some stuff, which is basically the things we were trying to do before. And what we can do is, so now that once Agones is installed, and we'll get back to that in a minute, we'll have access to game servers and fleets. And I'm just going to start with game server because I think that's actually the easier option to start with. Here's a full game server recommendation, like a configuration with all the different options that you could potentially create. And we're not going to use all of them. But you can see here we have a kind game server. It's this YAML file. We can do it all through the Kubernetes API as well if we so desire. That's all fine. But we basically just need to create this YAML file. We could also do it in JSON. There's a variety of different ways. But this is all the things. So here we have a game server. We give it a name. There's a specification. We don't need to worry about that. Port policy we actually don't need to care about. So we can actually have multiple containers running next to each other, but we're just going to do the one container. We can say what port and what host. We can do a whole bunch of stuff with health checking that I'm not going to worry about too much either. And we might actually do some of that stuff. And then we can do some other bits and pieces. And so, easy way of doing this actually is I might just copy paste it. Let's do that. We'll get rid of a bunch of stuff. But let's do that. So let's come back over here. It looks like I have a server up. That's good. We'll create a new file. How do I do that? Boop. New file. Here we go. Game server.yaml. Beautiful. I'm going to paste everything in. So I'm going to get rid of some of these questions. So kind equals game server. So that's cool. That's all good. What we'll need to do is, what's the word I'm looking for? Give it a name. Now we can have Kubernetes create the name for us. We can tell it to generate the name, or we can specify a name if we want. I'm going to specify a name. It's going to make life easy for myself, and I'm just going to call it Synodic. Should be fine. What else have we got that's available to us? And where are we? So let's see. All right, so more than one container. We're only going to have one container, so I can get rid of that. Port policy basically means that we can predefine what port we want things on. We're going to be dynamic, so we're just going to have everything set up. So we're going to do that. Container port. Now, let's see if I can remember. The container port for Sonotic is like 20,000 off the top of my head. We can actually look that up. The Sonotic thing. Oh, that's right. It's 26,000. Cool. That's the default. That's what Sonotic starts up on. Host port will be dynamic, so we don't care. Protocol is UDP. UDP is default, so we can get rid of that. So there's that. Okay, so we know it's going to start on 26,000. We're going to have an external dynamic port set up for us, so we don't have to worry about the routing or anything like that. Agones handles that for us. Health checking we definitely want. We're going to say initial delay of 10 seconds. I don't know. I'm just going to give it some arbitrary values for now. Period every 30. Failure threshold of 3 is fine. We're just going to leave it alone. So this is basically setting up health checking. You could leave it at default. I'm going to be a little bit... Right now it's actually really aggressive. It wants a health ping every 5 seconds. I'm going to be a little less aggressive. We might change that later on. I don't know how we go about that. And then what we have here is basically a pod template. So if you're not familiar with Kubernetes, basically a pod is like the smallest building block that you can build. It's basically one or more containers working together, though we're just going to have the one container. And these are a bunch of stuff I don't care about. But the cool about this is that anything that a pod can do, we can do better. No, that's a really bad musical joke. What it means is anything that a pod can do, we can also do inside Kubernetes. So pods can do things like volume mount. So you want to load up files. You want to have multiple containers. That's fine. You want to do secrets and config maps, so like pulling configuration type information. We can do that. Basically, anything a pod can do, you can do here. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to keep things super simple. We're going to give it a name. We're going to call it Sonotic. And then we need to give it an image name. I don't think we need image pool policy as always. So we're actually going to comment that out. Image pool policy as always basically just says always grab the latest version. So this is actually worth noting. So we're going to give it an image, right? So we were talking about that. So let's do that. Go into our registry. Let's grab the name of this one. Here we go. Is it going to give us like info, or is there something I can just steal, like a copy paste? There is not something I can steal. Oh, here we go. Yeah, gcr.io Sonotic 0.1. That'll do. That will do. So, perfect. gcr.io, right? So that's the Google Cloud Registry. That's the place that we share stuff from Docker images. And Agones Mark is my project, so that says that. And then we gave it a tag. We gave it a name of Sonotic, and we gave it a tag of 0.1. So that's the thing that we're pulling down. Image pool policy is something worth noting, I think, at the least, which is to say that by default, once a image with a given tag is put somewhere inside your Kubernetes cluster on that node, it's always just going to grab it locally. It's just like that's the default. But you can override what is called the image pool policy, which says like what should this be doing. So if you're in development, there's probably pros and cons for just creating a new hashed like tag or something like that on every build. I actually quite like that now. I do that a lot. But if you just want to be like maybe working locally or you're doing some mucking around, and you're always tagging your image the same thing, like Sonotic 0.1. You can specify image pool policy always, which means whenever the container spins up, it's going to go grab it from the container registry. So it's just going to grab the fresh version every single time. This is not something I would recommend in production at all, because if in theory you overwrote which one is the old one, you could get weird versions. Like it's just a bad idea. In production, you should never be overwriting your images anyway. You should always have a new image tag. But I'm just going to comment that out for now in case we need it later on, but I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. So that's really all there is to a game server, at least. We can get more complicated with it, but in theory that should work. How much time we got? So we should be all right. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can grab this. So let's let's do this. Let's see if we can set up this thing. So we're going to grab the credentials. We will create a cluster role binding for my personal account. Let's do that. Cool. That's done. All right, sweet. Have have I forgotten anything? We should actually look through my own. I should look through my own instructions. Creating a cluster, blah, blah, blah. So we did that. We've already done the firewall rules, so that's all set up. We don't need to worry about that. We did the creation of RBAC resources. We're going to install with Helm. I'm going to make this thing work. Otherwise, it's going to kill me. So let's do that. Helm, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I need to install Tiller, and I need to do all that kind of stuff. So let's do it this way. So this is what happens when I go, yes, I know exactly what it is that I'm doing, and then I realize that no, I do not. All right, so I created. See Helm. All right, so created that. So there's that helm.yaml that creates that service account. All right, so let's a kubectl apply. Why don't I get code completion? Anyway, apply -f helm.yaml. Cross fingers, that should be fine. Oh, I might need to. Interesting. kubectl config current context. Did it somehow? Streaming too. Okay, so it switched things. So that's cool. All right, cool. So now it should be Helm init service account Helm. Let's just double check that real quick. Actually, I have it in my make file, so I'm just going to use that as an example because. So just, I think I said this before, but the make file is all the development tooling that we have, and so a lot of this is automated. Helm init service account /helm. There we go. All right, let's try that. It's been installed. Beautiful. All right. So now kubectl pods. Oh, get pods. Let's see if we got it. All namespaces. There we go. Tiller is up and running. So if I do a Helm ls, which should say all, give me all of the things. Nothing is there. Yay, we work. Okay, cool. When you follow the instructions, things are good. That is good. So just I will actually just make sure we highlight this because it's a good point. If you have role-based access control in your cluster, which you probably will, make sure you set up your service account for Helm. That is the big magic thing. I don't know why they have hashes here, but outside of that, this is basically the step that you need to do. This creates the service account that, basically this creates a service account that tells Helm that it can do all the stuff it needs to be able to do inside the system. Okay, cool. So in theory, let's have a look. We should now be able to do a, let's see if we right install, go on, there we go, perfect. So Helm install, name Agones. Let's see if this works, cross fingers. That looks perfect. That looks perfect. Okay, that's exactly what we want. So when we do the install, we get all of this stuff that shows up. What we can do is actually check our logs to see if things are working. This should actually be interesting. So actually, if we look at our namespaces, we should see an Agones system namespace, which we do. I don't have code completion. Source. kubectl completion. I think I have ZSH set up on here. Is that what I'm actually running? Oh, interesting. There's some commands that aren't working. kubectl. Nope. Ooh, I broke that good. All right, so let's start a new cloud session. Let's start a new cloud session. I did something bad. I should stop messing around with this when I'm on. It's just actually having that completion is. If you can set up the completion, which I normally have, it is a million times easier. To give you an example, actually, if I use this here, kubectl, I can do this, right? So this is just my local shell, which I'm using. So if I want to say get pods, oops, kubectl get pod. If I say namespace, I will do I can get AG and it'll go Agones system, and then I can actually go. I know that it's called Agones controller, so I can do that, right? So I can. That's a million times easier, right? You want that set up. That's important. But I'm not showing this off. I'm showing this off here. So let's do this instead. What I want to see is the logs. So I'm going to go into logging. I can do this on the command line, but I'm here, so I might as well show it off. Here we go, streaming to Agones system. I can go basically down into the namespace, and I can start to have a look at the logs. So this actually looks pretty good. Just looking through the logs real quickly. So Kubernetes, especially if you're running GKE, but pretty much if you're running Kubernetes anywhere, has some kind of log aggregation set up for it. And this is all looking pretty nice. Actually, I can dig into exactly the pod that I want to see. Here we go. So there's Agones controller, which is the deployment. Are there any newer logs? Right, so this is a bunch of stuff. This is all installed. Oh yeah, starting game server, blah, blah, blah. So this is one thing that is kind of neat. This is something I really like about this. We could actually go kubectl logs and just get it on the command line, do that kind of stuff. This is one thing I like about the Stackdriver logging is I do, what's one call it? I do JSON-based logging. I like structured logging, and it'll actually push it through as a JSON payload, so I can actually see and explore everything. So where's a nice one? I'm sure there's a. This might be one actually. JSON payload. I can dig into this really nicely, and I can do some really nice searching on it too. Actually, most of my logging is fairly flat. But if it ever gets deeper, like you want to just send a whole JSON object through, you can do that, and you can start digging through, which I actually really like. So okay, that looks like that's all working, which is pretty sweet. Let's see if we can create the Synotic server. I think off the top of my head, I'm like 99% sure that our corporate network is actually going to stop me from connecting to it and making sure that it actually works, because it has done in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised by that. But let's see if we have that working. So okay, let's go back to path, source Agones dev, Agones examples, Synotic. Cool. So we created that game server YAML. In theory, that looks pretty accurate. Here we go, blah, blah, blah. Let's install it. Let's actually install it. So installation, again, we could have been doing this through the API, but on the command line, kubectl apply. If you have a name, kubectl apply works because it'll do like patching. It'll be like, oh, you made a change. I'll push it back. I'll do this kind of stuff. If we told it to generate a name, we would have to use kubectl create because we're specifically saying, hey, create this thing. But kubectl apply, boom. Okay, Synotic is created. Excellent. So now if I have a look for game servers, there's one. Let's just do a describe. Actually, if I look at pods, we should see we have some pods here too. Okay, container creating. That's probably pulling that down. That's like a gig image, which is quite large. So it'll take a little bit to come down. In fact, actually what we can do is we can actually kubectl describe that pod. So let's do that. Let me grab that. Man, I need code completion in here. It kills me. Describe pod, sorry. Okay, so that tells us there's some interesting things happening in here. Just so we're looking at the pod. That's our smallest level of thing. So here's our image that we had earlier, right? That Synotic image, port 2000. You can actually see all the things that happen behind the scenes. And what are we doing? So here right now. So look at our things, right? If we want to look at the backing pod, we can. Stuff's coming down. We're currently pulling this image down, so it's just doing that work. So let's just keep looking at our pods until it comes down. Still coming down. Okay, it is a big image. It's like a gig of image. Unless I've done something wrong, like possibly created the wrong thing, which is entirely possible as well. Agones Mark is the right project. Synotic 0.1. This all looks like it should be right. I'm having one of those, did I do anything wrong? Usually the thing that I find that I get wrong the most is that I put in the wrong container image. I just typed the wrong thing. Tag is 0.1. Okay, that looks like it should be correct. Let's have a look. Still container creating. Let's have a look. Oh, it's still pulling. So actually, it would back off if it would actually say not found if it couldn't find it. So it would back off. So I guess it's just a waiting game until this thing finishes. Get pods. Oh, there we go. Running. Lovely, lovely. So let's now kubectl describe game server. GS is the shorthand for game server. Synotic. And it's ready. Ah, sweet. Everything actually worked. Look at that. All right, so here's our game server configuration. Client game server. We've set all this up. here we go. So we have an image, blah, blah, blah. That's the image we wanted. We've got that set up. It's ready, which means that we have a port now and an IP. And we can actually see all the events happening. So a port's been allocated to it, pod's been created, synced, address and port populated. So that's good to go. So we've actually, all right. So we had some roundabouts. But we installed Agones and we got a configuration working and we got it up and running. So what time is it? Just real quick. Now fleets from here isn't a lot of work. And it's actually fairly similar. I'm trying to work out if we have time. Maybe we play with fleets next. Fleets is pretty straightforward. Does anyone have any questions? This is probably actually a good thing as well. You know what? I'm not going to get into... I want to get into fleets. I really do, because fleets are cool. But what am I looking at? I'm looking at the wrong thing. But fleets are really cool. Let's have a quick peek, just because we're there. But we don't have time to play with those just yet. I really want to, but I'm not going to. All right, so I would love to. I would love to play with fleets. Just to give you a little teaser, I'll give you a little teaser of fleets. So fleets I think are really important for production workloads. We can specify game servers individually, but fleets are really cool. So we'll have a quick peek over here. Fleets are where basically what you want is you have groups of game servers and have them ready and warm for you to go. And then what you want to be able to do is also be able to pull things out of those fleets as well. The other things that you really want to be able to do with fleets as well is be able to make updates. Like you make, say, a new version of your game server and you want those things to roll through without affecting people who are currently playing. So we'll probably look at that next. One thing we will have a quick look at, which is kind of fun. Let's go over to our cluster. Kubernetes engine. Streaming 2, there we go, beautiful. We can actually see some, what can we see in here that's actually useful, that's worth noting? All right, so here, this is a lot of Kubernetes dashboard stuff, but GKE gives it to you as well. We can actually see things like how much CPU our servers are running, that kind of stuff. Ooh, you know what we should do? We should actually go look at our logs and actually just see that this is actually running and doing game server type stuff. I'm not going to fire up Synotic. I really don't think... Yeah, we have corporate firewalls that stop us from connecting, which is unfortunate because it makes a really cool demo. But let's go look at our logging. Actually, let's do that. So we're going to look at GK container, streaming 2. We want to look in defaults. It'll actually show us everything, which is kind of neat. I'm just going to look at Synotic, which is that. So let's look at that. So we can actually dig in pretty well. Here we go. Lovely. So here you can actually see, yeah, here we go. Connecting to Agones with SDK, starting health checking, right? We're starting the script. We can see Synotic start up. It's all working pretty well. There we go. Port listening on 2600. All the good stuff is happening. So Synotic's up and running, which is pretty cool. So we can actually dig into all the logs. So this is actually a really nice thing of seeing as well. So we can actually see some of the differences here. So actually one of the things Agones does is it'll start up this sidecar. It's basically a process that runs alongside the Synotic service. It's just a separate container, and they can talk over a local port. And so we can actually see things like health pings coming through. Here's a bunch of health pings. We should actually see, like, at some point in here, there's probably a ready request, things like that. So we can actually dig into some of the logging and stuff like that as well. I think that's actually a really good spot to finish up, to be honest. I don't think there's anything else I want to show. I think maybe, yeah, we'll have a quick look at fleets, I think, next week, if I don't get a chance this week. And so you can just see how those get set up. They're like super similar. They're like not that different at all. But now we've done the Kubernetes side of things and got that already. And you've seen me muck it up. And so you now know how to fix it, which is good. That makes me very happy. And not follow my own instructions, which is also really fun. Yeah, the Helm docs. That's fun. You need to. That's the service account. RBAC is the thing. That's the tricky thing. That is fun. You can just for interest's sake. Actually, since we're here, I'll make a note. So with install, there is a install just using just a straight up install YAML. Where are we? Still using Helm. Nope. I don't want that. Kubectl apply, so you can actually just pull it straight from here. There's an install YAML. I like Helm just because for this reason exactly, which is, so if I say Helm ls, excuse me, I can see what version I've got running inside there. And I can see when it was updated and it's deployed. I can remove it in its entirety really easily. So it makes things, doing these updates really easy. So I do like it for that. I feel like it's worth the pain for that. People love it, people hate it, but we have it there if you need it and you want it, or you can just use the install YAML otherwise. So that is a thing. Cool. I think we're gonna finish things up there. I think that's a good stop. But we we went around a little bit in a weird way, but we got there in the end. So we got, what did we do? We got Agones installed on Kubernetes, kind of backwards ways, but we got it done. We got Helm installed. That was probably the more tricky bit, as well as showing off doing some fun RBAC type things, which are in there as well. But we got our game server up and running. We got the configuration working for it as well, so that was pretty sweet. And we got that all going, which was pretty cool. I'm actually kind of happy with that. The bits that should worked, which was good. Finally, yeah, regular streams 9 a.m. Pacific on a Tuesday. Seem to get some people hanging out then, which is lovely. I don't know if I'm going to get another one done this week. That would actually be kind of nice. We'll see what I can do. Maybe Friday. That'd be kind of cool. Otherwise, yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter at Neurotic. You can get all the archives for all these videos at YouTube/SmarkSMandel, S for Sam. Well, actually, it's S for Simon. And what else? And follow me on all the things, including Twitter and Twitch and YouTube, etc., etc. I hope you found that useful. That's sort of taking you through some more things, and hopefully you can sort of work things out from there. Otherwise, have a wonderful Tuesday. If Tuesday is still your day, or is Tuesday, Tuesday isn't your day, have a wonderful day of the week that you are having. And I'll catch you all probably next week, if hopefully maybe even a little before. All right, I'll see you all later.